Hi, Scott from Digital Fish with content that catches. I was down at Waihi for some family time and couldn't resist taking a few fishing rods with me. I'd heard good things about the Tauranga harbour entrance at Bowen Town, so packed some lures and went for a nosy. This isn't the best way down to the rocks. The track down to the right is a bit more gentle, doesn't have a steep drop, but is a bit more boring of course. What would rock fishing be without some danger? The rocks themselves at the bottom aren't too dangerous depending on tide and wind direction. That afternoon was slow, so I planned a dawn trip the next day. I was trying to lure a kingfish as the location had good current, depth and plenty of piper. However, I just couldn't get any interest in my poppers or stickbaits, even the expensive ones. So after a couple of fishless trips, I headed up the coast to Homonga Bay with my sister, Fleur Cushman, to do some rock fishing. The walk in was spectacular and a bit hot and sweaty. This sign was a reminder of the dangers of the area. The swell was heavy and looking at the wash coming off the rocks, they weren't good conditions for inexperienced fishermen, so once we'd made our way down to the ledge, my sister read her book instead. It wasn't a tough descent, but if you're afraid of heights like me, it added a bit of adrenaline to the day. I like to pack my gear so I have one hand free to negotiate down slopes and hang on when things are slippery. Fleur noticed a good kingfish chasing a mullet near the ledge, so I rigged the stickbait first and started casting that across the wash. No kings appeared, so I put out the burley sack, but then the wash was so strong it got ripped off the rope. Fishing in heavy swell can be dangerous. Use a long rod to control your line and keep away from the waves, in a position where they can't get you. There was a life ring at this location, and if you know there is danger, it is even better to wear a life jacket, especially places like the west coast. Never turn your back on the sea if you are within sweeping distance of the water, and always fish with a friend. When the swell is heavy, I often use a ball sinker to help get my bait down to the fish, as the backwash can lift your bait up to the surface as waves recede. Fish can be active even when it looks too rough, as the waves are stirring up food and the murky water provides cover for the fish. Pilchards are okay for bait, but get removed too easily in the wash, so squid and fresh kahawai are good baits to take along as well. I had to keep an eye on the swell all the time and constantly move up and down the rock when casting or throwing a bit of cut bait into the water, but there were fish there feeding close to the ledge. I finally hooked up. There is a bit of skill involved when landing fish in heavy swell. You want to pull the fish to the surface near the edge just before the wave surges up the rocks. Then keep pulling the fish up with the wave as high as possible and hold the fish on the rock as the wave recedes. See how I pull the kahawai up as the wave is at its highest. You don't want to be pulling the fish up against the wave as it is surging back down the rocks. Quickly get the fish to safety and try to stay out of the surge zone. The hook fell out of the fish's mouth before I could gill it, and it was a case of kahawai soccer to keep dinner from escaping back into the sea. I was gunning for snapper, but fresh crumbed kahawai is pretty good. Certainly better than just chips on a plate, so I was finally on the scoreboard with the fish. I hooked a couple of good snapper over the next few hours, but sadly they got away. One was a really good size, but it dived into the kelp at the edge and the wave ripped it off my hook. I had another fish stay connected, and this time it made it all the way up the rocks and onto the dinner plate. Another healthy looking kahawai to join the first one. I had a bucket to bleed the kahawai. This helps reduce the amount of blood in the flesh. The afternoon wore on and nothing else really came to the party, so it was time to pack up and start the long hike back up the hill. It wasn't so bad. We had dinner, sunburn and lots of exercise. This is Scott from Digital Fish with content that catches.